Welcome everyone to Shays Spiritual Insights, and just so glad you're here. We were already talking a little bit before we started recording, and the one opening comment, I had a couple of them, but it's just really short. We are really continuing, and I want to say in an accelerated manner, bringing in these higher vibrations, and we're all integrating them, making it possible to have these glorious, expansive spiritual experiences for those who are ready, as well as having us those, even, for all of us, any baggage we have has to be released, so that we can't go higher until we release the anchor that's holding us down. So it has to be released, and that's good. And it can be emotional because it's usually old, I call it molasses stuff, that's real heavy and vibration, and there are going to be some strong emotions as they get released, although it will be transitory. But as this high, super high energy comes in, for those who are ready, it's wondrous, and it's just a real spiritually exciting experience. For those who aren't ready, they will have, you might say, behaviors that are not exactly rational. And you can see that happening out in the world, because there's lots of people who are not ready for these energies, and they're pushing their buttons. So, and the second thing I have to say, and we talk about it and we allude to it, but as we all get together, this really is a forum for all of us who are on the committed spiritual path to share with one another. As we each share our thoughts or have questions, everyone should feel free and open to answer them. I'll share my perspective, but I'm going to have a certain viewpoint on it. And just as Paula just pointed out with a question before we started recording, she saw the insights of perhaps another aspect of what the question had. So when we all get together, it really can bring, all of us can bring the different things that we get together, and really have when somebody has a question, we can have a much better, I guess, choreographed response from the divine coming through each of us to help each other. So that's all I have. So welcome, Paula and Pat, and Marci was already on. And does anyone, I guess we can start in order, but I'm going to start with Paula because she's there. And do you have anything to share? Any thoughts? Please, on any subject that you want. I just really want to really expand this to be a forum where we all talk about the things that are, as we do, we talk about what's happening, but everyone can feel free to answer, because we're, again, each of us are spiritually accomplished, and we can and do help each other. So Paula, without further ado.
If I mute suddenly, it's because the dogs start barking and they're quite loud.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to say a little bit more about what Marci brought up. I'm not about what she said, but more what it brought forward in me was that instant need to make sure I'm always good with everybody. That I had that instant feeling of a little child who didn't want anyone upset with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a strong emotion. And it was interesting that just from what little bit we discussed, I instantly could feel that they're needing to be removed, that needing to always please everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I really had a wonderful week. It's even since meditation group, everything's been on a really nice, high energetic. So I really don't have a lot tonight. I'm going to listen to a few other people and see if anything comes up. But I just wanted to say thank you, Marci, because that really did bring forward something I haven't, seen it raise its head for a while, that needing to always be okay with everybody. And if I'm not, oh my, what did I do? When maybe it's not me at all.
And you brought up a really good point there, Paula, and I'm just getting it from my guides and stuff. They want to talk about it. Let's talk a little bit about how the baggage and how it, what we call it, we call it emotional baggage, but it's just energetic attachments and things left over and experiences from previous lives. And remember, when these things were created at a time when our awareness wasn't what it is now. We just didn't know. And we responded at the time emotionally, energetically, mentally, in all the different ways, and the way that we knew at the time. And all that gets encoded. into the experience. And of course, because we didn't know what to do with it, we stuffed it. We just, it was left basically unresolved. And then we move into further events in that lifetime or lifetimes. And as it doesn't get resolved, it keeps repeating, and it keeps getting layer after layer after layer. So what happens as the stuff comes up is that we're experiencing the mental, emotional, you can call it spiritual or energetic awareness that was encoded at the time. So we're finding ourselves in what we think of as, oh my goodness, I'm back in this regressive period, or I'm falling back, when in reality, no, we're not. What we're doing is we're releasing all the energies, the emotions of what was encoded when we had less awareness. It's not who we are now. And the fact that it's coming up means that we have the connection to the higher, let's say those parts of our being that of awareness that we are ready. And now is the time that the divine, our higher guidance, our high self and guides know that we can release it. And because it's such an accelerated time, not only are we accelerating as we're making higher connections, but we're also accelerating in the speed of the stuff being released. And this has been going on. I really did think it was going to just be a horizon of a year or two and maybe go back to a normal speed, but it just keeps going and going and accelerating. And it's a good thing, but as Marci was talking about before, as it comes up, it can be a real intensely emotional thing, and we can feel like something's going wrong, but it's quite just the opposite. It's quite antithetical to what we think it is. It's just the opposite of what we think it is. It's actually a good thing. And I just want to assure Marci and everyone else, when this happens, that's a good thing. And it also affects people, especially women, females, because the female archetype, the nature of it, her body represents the universe, because the life comes through the female. Things energetically tend to affect the female body more so than males. It affects everyone, but I've just generally speaking noticed that males, when energetic stuff comes up, they may have that ache in the back, or the left elbow starts aching because it was associated with something in some past life. But with women, it happens far more intensely and far more pervasively. So a lot of things that we have in physical ailments for women have to do with the stuff that they're releasing. And if you can know that, there is supplements you can take to cleanse your body so that that portion of it gets cleared. But just know that energetically it's getting flushed. And so in a positive way. So that's all I have to share. They wanted that. In fact, all your guides wanted you to know that is what this awareness of our baggage is left over from a time. We're experiencing our old state of being as it's being released. That's another way of saying it. So I think I've said enough. Thanks.
Thank you for that, because it really resonated with, I've been body aches this week, way more issues than I would normally have. But I'm also really working on releasing all, and I hadn't put the two together. So thank you for that information. And I am really excited because I received a new group of guides this week, the collective of the Divine Mothers. And it feels like I just got the nice body shiver. Feels like it's going to be a wonderful time for me to spend with that particular group of guides.
Yes, and I'm noticing, anecdotally speaking, as I've been talking to different people on the phone and just in conversations, I'm noticing there's been a whole rash of new guides for people. We're moving into a new phase, both in the collective and personally for us. And just on the aches and things, I'm going to just give a real quick 30-second thing. In any spiritual system of belief, and I know I've said this before, or mythology, as Joseph Campbell would call it. He would call the Bible a mythology. And a mythology, by the way, can be true. It doesn't have to be fictional. It can be, can actually be a true historical events as well as spiritually true, as well as being mythological in its reference. But anyway, when in a religion, when the top god happens to be a goddess, and there are many religions that have that, her body is seen as the earth. Well, and that was way back when, that was the universe, but her body is the universe, because that symbolically, and archetypally, I mean, that is the archetype of the female is the universe. Your body is your immediate universe that you're living in this world. So that is it's like a magnet, it's like a transformer, when that spiritual energy comes in on one side of the transformer, another side of electricity comes out the other side, and I don't know if that makes sense. But in any case, that's why females have it so much more than men. And if you know that, it can really help you connect with the processes of moving to whatever it is, that process, to that next thing you're moving into, and releasing it so it falls away much quicker. So anyway, thank you, Paula, for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Paula? Okay. Pat, do you have anything?
Let's see. I just want to share something. John and I went to the Flathead yesterday, and when we were at Natural Grocers checking out, the little gal that checked us out, this was so interesting. I mean, I do notice how people look at all of us. Sometimes when we're out and about, it's like they either can't take their eyes off of you or they smile just for no reason. Well, this little gal she was like giddy, and she kept stumbling all over herself in a way, only it was really cute how she did it. It was like she wanted to keep it going, and every time we'd say something, she'd laugh, or she'd like have something to say that was very cute back to us. And then so we got in the car, and then I said, wow, did you notice, that? And John said, yeah, he said it's like, I said, because she kept looking in my eyes really deep. And he said, yeah, me too. Mm-hmm. So I guess I was wondering how that fits in with this higher time we're going to, and maybe what that was about.
Well, I actually did. They were showing me as you were talking. And one, she's kind of that way a little bit anyway.
Yes.
But each of us, because of our connection, we're channels of light. And the divine, when we're out and about, when we're with other people, just as groups as well as individuals, we then become a channel from the divine through us for them. And there was very radiant energy coming through to you. And these high frequencies, and June used to talk about this, you'll notice a lot of the gurus, they giggle a lot. And it's because the high energy stimulates the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus then gives off basically a chemical into the brain that makes people giggly and whatever else. And that was in part what she's kind of has a predisposition for it anyway, but that's what was happening. Her inner self could not keep her eye off the energy, because the energy's coming through. You were a channel, you and John were a channel for her. Two different kinds of energies, but both of those energies are what was needed in the moment, plus for others as well that were there. And we unknowingly do this just as we walk out and about. We're anchoring the energy not only on the earth, the higher frequencies, but we're also a channel for others. Is it that proverbial lamp on the hill? Don't put a bushel basket over the top of it. Let your light shine. Well, every one of you, your light is shining, and that's what she was receiving. She got kind of supercharged from this thing. It's kind of interesting. I'm watching her. It's because she's like, wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she's kind of adorable anyway. Well, that is really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm sure that everybody on the call can relate to that happening more late. I mean, this just happened. I haven't had that before.
The material wasn't working, the check wouldn't.
Oh yeah, and like when you have things at work happen, our check would not go through, and she's trying to get it to go through, and then she brought over her boss, and the boss couldn't get it to work either, and finally we just had to use a credit card. Now, we had no problem at Walmart, no problem after that at Costco. Mm-hmm. So I guess something else was happening and being affected.
It can. And I'll share many of you may already know this, but this was years ago, and I learned something. This might be something you want to know about because this energy can and does affect electronics. And I used to put shielding around my computers to protect them. And what I found out was, as Kay used to tell me, she says, you're using your energy for your own shielding. And she says, eventually your own shielding, it's your energy also coming through, through from the divine. So your own shielding isn't going to block you. And I went through 3 motherboards on my computer in about 2 years. And I said, boy, these motherboards nowadays have 50,000 hours mean time before failure. I mean, they last for decades if as long as you have stable power. And I said, I wonder if it's me. And I called up Kay, and she says, yep, it's you. Well, I didn't like that answer. So I called Dr. McKimmy at the time when he was still alive. And he says, it's you. I said, oh man, the 2 gurus I know, here they are. And it's like, so yes, I want to share, Pat, especially as plugged in as you have with that connection that you have. It was really, oh boy, it was really crystalline as it was coming through. I'm going to tell you that. Very powerful, very high frequency. And she was ready for it too. That's why it happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it can have effect on electronics. Absolutely. And we've told you about the time we used to come back from the annual meditation we go to. And when we got into usually Idaho, Deborah's car and I went, it would always happen between Coeur d'Alene, Coeur d'Alene and Eureka. Her car would go from getting, all Subarus get about the same mileage, 27, 28, maybe you get 30 on a good day. Deborah's car went to 45 miles per gallon. And I went and said, no, that meter's wrong. So I went and filled up the tank, looked at the miles, and I went and divided it. And sure enough, it was within real close. It was like, 39 to 45 miles per gallon. So it can have wonderful effect, but it can also have a slight deleterious effect, I suppose, if you're at a cash register. So.
Yeah, interesting. And John was sort of to the side of me, and I'd noticed she'd look at me and then she'd look at him, and then I know he commented about something a couple times, and it was like she could not contain herself. It was the cutest thing.
It did, and it really had not only a hypothalamus, but there's some other one. I don't know what the name of it is, but her brain was also putting out another chemical that was just really, she was kind of high in a good way.
Yeah.
That spiritual high we get when we have that real super powerful meditation. It was like, wow, it's wonderful. She was experiencing that kind of spiritual high. Awesome. It was wow.
How beautiful for all of us to be able to bring that essence in for humanity, which is why we're here. Now we can have a better understanding of it. Yeah,
and we all do that as we walk out in public. I mean, we really does it happens in so many ways that we don't even know. And by the way, this is from her high self. She said that this is going to have what came through was kind of a seed that came through you from you and John. And it's going to kind of germinate, let's call it that, spiritually speaking. And it's going to help her. It's going to propel her. She's ready to be propelled in a new direction. And she hasn't kind of been doing it, just hasn't figured it out. And it looks to me like after this spiritual germination period, whatever you want to call that, I think she's going to get moved on into a new direction that her higher guidance has for her to go. And it's part of her life plan as well. So wow. Hats off to you, Pat, for just being you, and Paula and Marci, just everybody. Yes, it's awesome.
And John's here too. He's always here.
Yes.
So I wondered if just a second question, if you, it was so exciting to hear Paula talk about these new guides that came in. I wondered if you see any new ones for me.
Yes. Everybody has them right now. There's a whole new rash of them coming in. And I was told, I just retold again, just denial. It has to do with this new phase we're moving in, the energies. And we need these guides to help us connect with, integrate, and be able to bring all the essences of those energies. It could be gifts, it could be knowledge, it could be skills, whatever it happens to be, bring it down into our bodies and into our energetic being here so that we can use them and share them with others. And it'll be different for each person what that is. So
do we need to would it be, should we just be sitting, kind of letting it incorporate? Or is there something, a tool or something that you might offer for us to work with that to help bring it in?
The answer is yes and yes. Yes, it is for us, at least for right now, to let it happen. And then you're going to start getting, as the stuff, energy, as these connections of these energies start crystallizing in our being, in our brain, and our brain will start getting encoded. Then we'll start having a sense of, oh, I should go do this, or I should go do that. You follow your intuition. You're going to start getting the guidance. And once and they've been doing this to me lately. They're veiling themselves. I don't know which one of your high selves, one of your guides, not high selves, one of your guides said it, and it's one of your more elevated guides. If you find it can be a meditation out there, it could be one of ours, it could be one of the ones that you listen to from your other sources for spiritual growth. But find a meditation that really resonates with you. If you find yourself called to listen to it, do. Because as they just told me, that will be the avenue to help crystallize and activate this process even faster. And it might be different for each of you. Each person might be called to do a different meditation. So it could be on our website. It could be on one of the many other websites and sources, spiritual sources that each of you listen to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's very helpful.
Well, thank you. Anything else, Pat?
No, maybe later.
Okay.
I was hoping you had a little more to share. Maybe I missed some coming in a couple minutes late.
Well, I think we talked about it, and I'll repeat it, and hopefully I don't recall, because I'm kind of in the zone right now, which means my left brain is active tracking stuff. But this really is, and I got this today coming in, and it's been coming kind of crystallizing with me for a while. Is that these, we call it Shays spiritual insights, but it's really everyone's spiritual insights. Everyone has something to share, and when we ask a question, I'm more than happy to answer, but I'm only going to have a certain perspective on it, or whatever my breadth of perspective is, because of my life experiences and my spiritual path. But Paula will have one, and Lisa, when she's here, will have another, and Brooke and whoever else is on it. Everyone's going to have something to add and share. And as we do, again, the divine really emphasizes this to me every time, is that we are all channels for each other. What you did for that cashier, we're doing for each other right now. And we're not even fully aware of what's happening. And it helps bring in and incubate new energies for each of us. So, each time we do this here and other places, that really helps propel and accelerate our spiritual growth. So I really feel like this is a forum where if anyone has a thought, don't hold back, share, please do. And that was the thing that I shared up front. I mean, you probably did hear it, but if you didn't, I wanted to make sure that was out, because I feel like this is really an equal forum for all of us, because each person here is spiritually accomplished, very spiritually advanced on the committed spiritual path. So that's what I had to share. Okay, Pat's kind of quiet now. Marci, anything else, please? Any questions? Any thoughts? We want to hear more. I don't think.
Oh boy, I could talk forever.
Well, we'll start. I'd love to hear you. What you have to share.
Well, the physical, when you're talking with Paula about the physical stuff, I'm really relieved that a lot of that seems to be subsiding, because that's been going on for a couple of years, of all that energetic stuff showing itself physically. And it's just so nice to not be constantly have that in the background. So the thing that you mentioned about meditations that we might be drawn to do with our new guides, the meditation that you guys did, this last one, that was really powerful. The whole next day, almost to the end of the day, was like a higher plane. And not somewhere I wasn't familiar with, but for it to go throughout the whole day like that was really amazing. And then each time that I've listened to the meditation since, it's been a totally different experience. Sometimes just like the mind kind of tuning out and just taking it in energetically, but it's super powerful. What's come through for me on the new guides, what I was getting was, and maybe you're familiar with Lord Maitreya.
I've heard the name. Yes.
Does that ring a bell with you?
Yes.
And when it first came through, it was like, well, I don't know. I don't really know who this is, but it's come through a couple times, and it seems to have to do with healing energy, bringing through healing energy.
Yeah, and other stuff as well. You'll become more aware of that as time goes on.
Okay, and I mean, I know it's to do with anchoring the higher consciousness, but I don't know if this is to do with what you were talking about, or you have been talking about with like the however many choices that it looked like there were, maybe 3 choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of felt like maybe that's what was going on, it was going to choose that path.
Yeah, and that's
And
going
it
to
had
evolve for you too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was kind of what I was curious about, if that was one of the choices you had been talking about.
Yeah, it has to do with, as we anchor to the, we can talk about the new earth and bringing that dimension. It's the energies that correspond with it, and the corresponding spiritual energies that are associated with that level of higher earth. And as we shift, and as I've learned in my own path shifting experiences, which are usually at the same level, but it happens when we move up too, is that we experience the other people that we know, their alternate aspects that have chosen to be at that level. We're interacting with them now, so we could have these kind of shifts happen, and we don't even know it's happened. But yes, it has to do with that. It has to do with the healing for you too, specifically for you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that's what I got the minute you said that. That's what it's like. Yes, for you, because there's some healing that you're ready for. You're moving into. You're ready for now, and some more you're moving into. That is really necessary to release that old anguish, that old sorrowfulness, and the things that were associated with that level of consciousness when it happened eons ago, whenever it was, so that you can move into your true state of being, which has really been accelerated since you've been in Hawaii anyway. It's a wonderful place for these things to happen. But yes, and one other thing, and this is coming from an aspect of the Divine Father, the Divine and the Divine Father, is to mention that we are guided, Deborah and I, when we bring through these meditations and even her sound showers and everything, we're guided to be centered in the moment in the Divine. And unlike, when someone records a song, whatever was happening with the song, that gets encoded. And that's why they say it's best to listen to live music, because you're experiencing what's coming through in the moment. And when you listen to older music, oftentimes, especially with this non-spiritual music, you're getting old energies. And we learned from just over the years, our guidance has been to be open channels, so that each time a person listens to, whether it's a sound shower or one of the meditations, in the moment, you're bringing through new energies. So it's going to be different each time you listen to it. Whatever you're ready for that type of meditation, whatever area it happens to be in, whatever you're ready for, the Divine's going to bring through for you in that moment. There's going to be some old stuff, old patterns that might, just because there's going to be a little bit of that, but there's going to be a lot of new. So as you listen to it each time, as you're guided to do it, whatever one it is, you're going to have a new growth experience, you could bring in new guides, who knows what'll happen. And there's others out there that do that. And if you're aware of those who do, those are the people that you want to, the music or the guided meditations or the sound showers or whatever it happens to be, people who do that, who open themselves up as channels like that in the moment as they're bringing through the event. That's what you want, because that brings through the fresh energies each time you listen to it. And that's what happened to you. And the divine is the one who wanted that meditation. I didn't know what the meditation was going to be. And the divine said, because of what's happening right now in the world and coming in and all the things we're talking about, things that Pat just shared with, this meditation was really important. It goes beyond the new earths and the new earth dimensions. It ties to all this anchoring and in our spiritual life and all the different facets of our life, so that each person will be brought to where they're ready for now, because it's so important. The light work that all of us in the world are doing, all the spiritual workers, it's so important. And so as we grow, the world benefits. So anyway, my long elongated explanation, but that's what came through. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And it's kind of a, I like that you said that the healing is for me, because I don't feel like that's what I'm to do, is do healing. It doesn't,
Not right
it
at
just
this
doesn't
moment.
feel like,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like a fit. So
Yeah, it's for you to receive. And as
Okay.
you receive it, and as things get cleared, then you become a channel. And I think you know this, but
Yeah,
for healing for
yeah,
others, you just do. And animals,
yeah.
by the way, I don't know how this just came through, animals really benefit in plants from you.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that?
Well, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a vet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the thing, was for healing for animals, and plants are the other connection. So that's my natural draw, is those two things.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they
and
really do.
it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing. There's a dog thing going on right now in the air of the neighborhood with drama. And so, people getting bit, other people being afraid of dogs. And so that's kind of an interesting thing, because I remember way back when you told me something about there was still a dog and cat energy going on that was going to need to get worked out.
Ooh, boy. That's a piece of it. There's other things, others have stuff too, but this must be a time for that to happen for everyone as well as yourself. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if anyone
Yeah, it's
else
kind
has
of
any
out there.
thoughts. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the reason I mentioned it, because Paula mentioned dogs at the beginning of the call, so it's like, oh, okay, I guess I will say that.
Yeah, but when you just said it, I got a buzz. I got a resonant, which is, yes, this is true for you. It just has to do with some of that energy to be released along. That's part of the healing. It's one of the threads of healing. There's a lot of other ones for you, and it's time for all of us to do those things that we came to do. It's imperative that we do it, because as we do, it just really accelerates and propels humanity into our higher vibrations, as June used to call it, homo luminous, which is basically moving into our light bodies. She was talking about that. They have different names for it now, but this is definitely for you. Yes. Does anyone else have any
That's
thoughts on the
wonderful.
dog thing? Paula or Pat?
Well, nothing's really
Uh-oh.
coming up. But I'm also feeling I am really spaced out. The energy is really exceptionally strong tonight. I was sitting here thinking I could just kind of float away if I wasn't trying to remain grounded, because it's really flowing in stronger than normal tonight.
Yes, and it's higher than normal. It's
Yeah,
shifted
and higher.
upwards. It's anchored a little higher just in this time that we've been on this to here.
Yeah.
It's pushed upward. And that's
We
coming.
just had a big
Listen.
whale jump.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, I can confirm
So
that,
I'm
Paula.
wondering,
You're right. I hadn't noticed it until you said something about it. I could feel it, but I wasn't paying attention to it. But you are absolutely right, Paula.
yeah, it's really, I mean, exponentially higher than normal. Um, so Mars, what I was wondering about the dogs and cats is I'm
Uh-huh.
wondering if they just don't feel a little out of misplaced is the word that wants to come in. And
They're
I'm
out
not
of
sure
sort.
why.
Yeah, they're out of
Out of
sorts.
sort, yes. Yep. They're out of sort and they're actually feeling, oh, my body just responded saying they're feeling this energy and they don't know what to do with it except a little bit of lashing out.
Yeah, it's like what happens when somebody's, let's use like the example of what you see in society with people who aren't ready for the energies, their buttons are getting pushed and they act irrationally. They do weird stuff like, why would anyone do something as odd as that, whatever it happens to be? That's what the dogs are experiencing. The beauty of it is, and this is such a beautiful thing, and Swami Kriyananda talked about it. He talked about when animals are around people who are on the spiritual path and it accelerates their spiritual growth. And believe it or not, what's happening with this energies coming through is a purging. It's a release, it's a raising of for the animals as well. And that's going to help them on their spiritual path and to move from group consciousness, which animals are, into individualized consciousness at some later point, but it's going to speed up that process.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense. It's just interesting to see that people are being affected by it, you know. So
Yeah, but I think Paula really
victim
nailed
kind of
it.
stuff, right?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that?
I said Paula really nailed it with that. I think that was very
Yeah.
on cue there. Yes.
it feels like, Mars, if you were to just collectively sit and send out a beautiful calming energy and actually intend it for all of those animals to absorb that in and just speak with, like we do with all of our animals, just talk to them, just say, listen, guys, this is just happening. You're not doing anything to bring it in. If you can, I don't know how you tell a dog to take a deep breath, but that's kind of what it feels like. It's like just let it come through and release and move it through, and don't hold on to that feeling of that whatever that word was, we just had irrational feelings or whatever. Don't
Yeah.
hold them
Yeah.
in, just let it pass through.
Yeah.
If you could
Yeah,
pass
I
that
just
on
put
to the animals is what it feels like.
I put golden light. I sent golden light, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens.
Wow. Well, both of you were talking. Pele just said for you, Marci, to send out, and I don't know what it means because it seems to be for you, but I'm going to relay the message. She says, be the rainbow and send out spiritual rainbow energy to them. Whatever. Yeah. And that is what you are to
Okay.
be and to do. Just intend it and it
Perfect.
will happen.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Wow. I haven't talked to Pele
Yeah.
in a long time. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with the rainbow light. So
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's gonna, boy, next month, I want to hear what happens. I want to hear about the update. So,
I'll give you the update.
yeah.
Sounds good. And my heart is so expanded on the call this time. It's really feels so good, so full.
Well, I'm going to share what I'm seeing. You're just open this beautiful, beautiful pink, reddish. I'm colorblind, so whoever can, if anyone else can see it, please tell what color it is. But it's coming in from the divine. This pink, unconditional love with this divine, this robust love. I don't know, and it's just flowing through your heart, flowing out right now. And you're right, your heart is expanded. You are doing that. Plus, there's other energies as well, but this is started flowing in as you started talking about the rainbow energy. All of a sudden, wow, it is just, wow, you are really just radiating love and light.
Wow. I feel so lucky. Thank you guys. I love you guys so much.
Yes, we love you too.
You're all so special. So special.
Yes, it is. It's beyond our words to talk about it. Oh my. Pat, you've been kind of silent there. Do you have anything?
Well, I can see just from this last what's just been shared now, and the work that Marci will be doing with the rainbow energy. I mean, this is huge stuff we're all doing, and I think that because we're in the human form, we really a lot of times we have our daily lives, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I am want to share something that I've known my native friend for over 15 years because I've yeah, and she moved from sort of the Seattle area to Minnesota, and she's actually a medical intuitive, used to work with doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never exchanged a session, which is like, what? I mean, I never even thought about it. We talk about every 3 months or 4 months. So we were talking recently, and afterwards I got, you're supposed to offer to give Choling, which that name Choling, I can't remember what it means, but she was given it from the Tibetans that she did work with.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, she's just a very amazing woman who's done a plethora of things in her life. And so I let her know, okay, yeah, I'm my guides told me I'm supposed to give you a session. And so that was done this week. And toward the end of her sharing, because I always ask people to share first, because otherwise sometimes they get lost in our sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she told me a bunch of things that had happened during the session. And then she said, recently, in the past few months, my guides told me I am to work with the ley lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm relating this to the largeness of what we're all doing. And many of us don't even know what we're doing. And she said that, and then they told her to learn about ley lines. Now she's the chairperson for her little town. They asked her to be the chairperson. She's an artist. She's an amazing woman. Anyways, we're all amazing. So she said she just researched and saw where the ley lines run all over the world pretty much. Then they told her, now you are to go to the ley lines that are within, I don't know how close to her they are, but in Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
plants by these structures that were put in by the beings have been running for millions of years, the dark stuff. So whatever these plants are, she's doing that. So wow, this is incredible. And then I proceeded to tell her about the Montana megaliths and how, in listening to one of those talks on a YouTube, we learned that the ley lines from our very own Montana megaliths run all through with ley lines, intersect with ley lines, even going to Stonehenge and all these sacred sites all over the world. So the picture is getting so much larger. And I said, Choling, I'm seeing that once you do the specifics of what you were told to do, you will be able to just stay at home in your meditation room and work with ley lines all over the world. That is going to be huge for you. And then she saw the two of us. She said, wow, this is interesting. She said, I see the two of us as we're working together today. We're weaving back and forth. And she said, it's together. And she said, it's much like an ocean wave. So all those things that we've all learned over the years about the ocean waves and how we are in conjunction with how the waves work. And then she saw with me, she said, I don't know what this means, but she said, I see a lion's head. I see a sacred medical teaching shield and some plant. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And I let it go because I started looking it up in my medicine books, and finally a day later, it's like, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that. Just accept it, know it, and if you're supposed to see more, it'll come to you. So I went with that, and then I was listening to Green Tara Addy that John and I, when she's on, we listen to her, and she said she was talking about the Elohim very briefly, something about the Elohim beings and the work, the wonderful work they've done. And I was told, and you are an Elohim. And I'm going, what? And I just let it go because I couldn't even begin to understand that. But anyway, that's for the sharing I have.
Well, I can confirm that an aspect of your being is Elohim.
Oh,
That's true. It's true of everyone, Paula and Marci. And you are definitely aspect of your being is Elohim. And that, that creative archetypal energy that, just pours into Hawaii. I'm so envious of Marci. She lives in Elohim Central. So
yes, she does.
I want to move there, but I also want to be in Montana, so I'm not going to do it. But yes, you are. Thank you for sharing that. And the ley lines are very powerful, and they do intersect, in kind of major ways. You have like major and minor ley lines, and they've split off, and the extraterrestrials know about them. And yes, you're right. Once she does work with them, she will be able to do wonderful things. And any of us can do that if we're called to do it.
Yes.
Yes, any of us can do that. But you're right. The pyramids and the ley lines, they discovered all these sites and these megalithic sites, and from antiquity all over the world, they're all interconnected. So
and she's to work with at least right now, or when she does this plant thing, with the ones that were deliberately put. She said, always look carefully if you see a dome structure, because it may not be for the better good of all. And she said many castles were built on the same type of thing. So it's going to be interesting. And I said, I don't know if John and I are to work with that or not, but we'll be watching you and supporting you in your work.
Wow. That's wonderful. I said when someone finds their spiritual calling, it's just, that's what Joseph Campbell called the soul's high adventure. We call it the soul's high path. But whatever you want to call it, when you're finally find the thing that is right for you, doors open for each of us when we're on our path that will not open for anyone else, because it's our path. It's whatever your path is, it's the one for you, and things will happen for you that will not happen for anyone else. And that's why it's so important, imperative, I'm going to say, that each of us follows our path, because then we become these incredible spiritual multipliers, not only for our own life and growth, but for everyone else. So in the world.
And thank you for your comments too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we just had someone join us, and you don't have to speak if you don't want to. Some people were shy, but if you wish, if you have anything to share, Tonya, or anything to ask, or both, we'd love to hear from you. Please. Oh, we're glad you're here, Tonya. It's wonderful.
Sorry, I'm here. I just had to shut my door real quick.
Okay, please.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting on totally late, and so I think I missed quite a bit. So I'm not sure exactly what you guys were talking about, but I know I just got my sound healer certification, and there's quite a few different things going on, and so I'm trying to get a little bit more involved in the community, is kind of why I joined tonight and wanted to hear what other people had to say.
Well, that's wonderful. Now you're gonna, once we're done with this, I try to get it posted tonight, and I most often do. It'll be out on Shays Holistic's website as well as our YouTube channel. And usually the people who listen, who are on the Shays Insights, Spiritual Insights, they go back and listen to it again because, it's because we miss parts of things sometimes. So you can go back and listen to any part of it in what we've been talking about. Well,
Great.
so glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's going on?
So I met you guys about last year. I did that training up there by Eureka is where I kind of got involved with you guys initially. And then, yeah, I'm a therapist by trade, and I've been, like I said, I just got the sound healer certification. I got certified in Reiki last year. And so I'm kind of going more toward a holistic approach. Kind of being more open with, energy healing and different types of healing, not just the traditional counseling, therapy.
Yes, and it's what your guides and your high self are really, I'm going to say, they're doing it in a, I'm going to use I don't know if it's the right word. They're doing it in a delicate manner for you so that it can be integrated into your work. Yeah, I think your intention is indeed what you're being guided to do. And as you do it, then you become a channel. So as you're using traditional accepted therapeutic methods in counseling and whatever you do, the energetics will be a powerful, perhaps even the greater part of the session, and they'll walk away feeling so much better, but not realizing the full extent of what had happened. And you will become increasingly a channel of that. And it looks like you've got a number of choices, a way that can go as you continue. And I think you'll just naturally be guided to what is right for you as you grow in, what you're guided to learn and do, and as you progress.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've had a lot of people kind of make comments, like when they come into my office, like they'll say it feels really calming in here, it feels really peaceful in here, kind of picking up on the energy of the room or my energy or whatever it is. So yeah, I think people notice, but maybe not know exactly what it is.
Yeah, they'll feel it intuitively, probably, I would say energetically, emotionally, however you want to describe it. Different people in different ways. And what I got from, I don't know how much you know your guides, but you have a male guide. I think he's native. I'm not sure if it's a native from the Americas or from somewhere else. He's kind of keeping himself a bit veiled from me. And when that happens, it's because it's for you to discover, not for me to tell you. Is to get, we call it grounding, but create a grounding, where you can bring in a shaft of light from the center of the earth into your environment, as well as, your domes of your energy protection that you use, the light that you bring in to make it an environment of light, so that as stuff gets cleared with them, it gets pulled into Mother Earth. He said that's important for you to start doing, because what's going to happen is as you get increasingly connected and the energies become higher frequency and wider spectrum of things, as things get cleared, they need to be pulled away so that the person lets go of them more fully, I say more completely.
Okay.
He just
Yeah,
communicated that. Yeah. So what else do you have to share? We'd love to hear from you.
Sorry, I'm trying to switch modes right now. I was just kind of busy doing some other things, so I'm trying to switch modes. But yeah, I think there's a lot. There's a lot in the spiritual realm, energetic healing, sound healing. Yeah, there's a lot, kind of like I'm traditionally trained, and so there's a lot on the other side that I'm really starting to explore more, really, like in the last couple of years. Yeah, and I've just, like you're saying, kind of the calling or things, like happening kind of in a more natural way or something like that. There's changes I'm thinking about right now, things that I would like to do but haven't like quite implemented or not really sure how to implement yet. So kind of like the sound healing. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out the path right now, really.
Well, and just keep following. I'm also going to say from getting it from all your higher guidance and your high self. Just keep following. It's coming in. It's being integrated. I'm say delicately, but softly, but however one wants to describe it, but in a way that allows you to integrate it into your work, so it's not disruptive, and you'll naturally start having inklings and ideas and you'll run across people, or you'll run across an article, or you'll hear something, and it'll resonate with you, and you'll know if it's right for you because it'll just naturally happen, and that's going to keep happening for you. And again, it'll move in different directions as you're naturally guided. It'll flow like water. Wherever it needs to go is where it will go for you as you bring it in. And I'm getting the sense that you may, at some point, if you wish, you can ask. Deborah does a lot of sound showers, sound healing, sound. Some people call them sound baths, but where she's a channel for things. And it's amazing what happens when we can take traditional things and mix them naturally, organically, with our spiritual connections. It's incredibly powerful. Amazing things can happen.
Yeah, actually, that was my first introduction to sound baths ever. And I remember it like pretty vividly when she was doing it. Seeing the different colors of the chakra. Like, I think I had my eyes closed most of the time, but just kind of seeing different colors resonating. So I'm not sure if it was correlating with what bowl, she was working on, or so it's kind of crazy to think, like here a year later, I got certified and I just ordered my bowls, and I'm hoping to get them here soon and start working on them. And, just kind of where this last year even has kind of gone on the journey. I just did another training here a few weeks ago, and just learning and growing. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of see what comes next.
Well, lots is coming next for you. And I guess the one thing I'll share is it will accelerate when it's time for it to accelerate. As you get more and more integrated and grounded and everything, you know how it is. It's kind of like in a good way, a snowball. It's going to get building and building, and then it'll get to a pace that works for you. And sometimes it'll go fast, and other times it'll plateau so it can integrate, but it's going to keep going for you. And they keep prodding me, so I'm going to mention it. Long ago, way back when I was a teenager, I used to meditate with a group weekly, like lots of people do. And one of the persons figured out how to watch Uri Geller and learned how to do spoon bending. So we all wanted to learn spoon bending. So they went to a garage sale and bought a whole bunch of spoons and forks and things. And what we learned how to do was align our chakras in such a way, it's kind of like a laser. It becomes coherent. You learn how the energy is not just flowing, but it's flowing all synchronized together. And when that happens, and I've only done it once, because just spoon bending class, but to show people this is spiritual energies, and once we we take these spiritual energies and we actually go and bend a spoon. And once you learn how to do it, the metal becomes like soft. It's like bending, and we'll say clay, but it can become very, very easy. And we used to do serving spoons. And when I don't know if I mentioned, I was in the Navy in my earlier career, and when I was on my first ship, they didn't believe it could be done, so they went and I didn't encourage this, but they would take spoons from the mess decks off the ship, and I would bend them for them. But it's not like but anyone can do this. And the reason why I mention this and what your guides want you to know is that the spiritual energy, people who aren't spiritual say, well, spiritual stuff, that's just in your head, and spiritual energies, what are those? This is an example of how spiritual energies can be literally phenomenal in the denotative form. It means they can actually become a phenomenon. They can express themselves in the world in very real ways, and spoon bending is one of them. And I always tell people, spoon bending is about everything but bending spoons. It's about, once you achieve this ability to realize just how real this stuff is, once that it really sinks into our beings, we become, oh my goodness, it just opens each of us up. For those who do it, it just opens us up for growth and expansion that we just weren't doing before, because it becomes very real to not our conscious mind as well as our inner being. So spiritual energies are very real and incredibly powerful, and very powerful at the physical level as well. Amazing things can happen. Spiritual healing, emotional healing, as well as physical healing, when we become connected and employ these energies, as you're doing now, and as you're going to continue to do with your sound work and other work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for the insights. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for joining us. We always love to have everyone here, and as we talk about this, we started this time, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Yeah, we came up with a name, and Deborah, my wife, is always the one who comes up with these things. She says, why don't we just call it Shays Spiritual Insights? But that's just the name. That's just the forum that we're here. Each of us is on a spiritual journey, and each of us has wonderful gifts that we can share with others. And when we're together like this, we're all channels for each other. And you probably didn't hear that part. We talked about that up front. And it's true. So when somebody shares something and asks a question, I'm more than happy to share what I get, but each person's also going to get things from their own perspective. And we all really benefit from hearing things from multiple facets and multiple perspectives. It opens us up to greater growth and healing when we have a question we bring to the group. When the whole group responds, it just is incredibly therapeutic, I think, in a spiritual as well as physical way. So anyway, thank you for being here and joining us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have much else to share. I just was really aware that just how important it is that everyone, when we're on these calls, if you feel like, oh, I'm not going to say anything because I'm not sure I should. Oh, please do. And I'm glad everyone did tonight. I'm just going to go around and just ask for any closing comments or questions if anyone has one. And I'll start again with Paula. Do you have anything?
Two things real quick. And Tonya, when Jeff was speaking, I kept trying to get the right words to formulate, but I couldn't. But what I saw was slow and steady energetically for you really is the appropriate path. And what I saw was like that, the turtle in the hare race, where the hare raced off and used all of his energy up really quickly. And the turtle came through just very calmly and steady and continued on their path and ended up being the one that, that won the race, even though this isn't a race, but kind of an analogy of how we always want everything quickly, but it's not always for our best and highest. So, and then I have one other weird one. When Pat was talking, the tall beings showed up. I entered, and I don't feel them I don't feel a lot of different energies, but I'm wondering if there's a reason I energetically felt the tall beings came in later half of our conversation tonight, if they had a message or something.
Yes, and you're getting it. And they're the Elohim, and the higher, yes, there's a variety of the Elohim. And it's because you've been inundated with these energies that are, as we talked about earlier, the super high ones that it just stepped up during this whole conversation that we're all having. You were ready for it, and you are now ready to receive what they had, and you're getting it energetically. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that tortoise and the hare thing. That is so true. That's why I kept getting the word delicately, but that's a better analogy. Yes. And it really is important for each of us, but especially with what Tonya does here, that it happened in this way so that it's for the highest good of herself as well as all of her clients and those she assists and helps and guides. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paula, for that.
All right, Pat, do you have anything to share or ask, or both? Anything before we close the tonight's wonderful forum?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for what they shared tonight, and it's been exceptional. Even John felt that way. And I want to really welcome Tonya to our group, and to please, come back. And you're with the Reiki, you have basically we're all pretty much Reiki people, and Deborah's Reiki and Jeff's Reiki because he's, works with Deborah, and I'm a Reiki master. So, you really can really fit in with this group well, and I hope you come back. And
Yes, we sure do. It's such a joy to have someone bring in their spiritual gifts and your essence. Just being here is a joy and a heartfelt happiness. I'm just, having someone new here, just wonderful. I'm going to go to you, Marci. Do you have anything to share or ask, or both? Before we close out here tonight.
Oh, just so much appreciation for everyone. The only thing that just pops in my mind is when we're talking about the Elohim. What about their connection with the angels?
Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it before. The Elohim have different aspects as well. And the Elohim are Illuminatians, the illuminated beings. They're related to the jinn. There's also an aspect, because they are very much in the same, the way Elohim operate are very much structured. That I always call it hierarchical, but I don't want to mean it in a human sense. I just mean in the way angelic, spiritual sense. There's Elohim that are angels. There's an angelic aspect to them. They are as a part of the angelic realm as well. They are definitely part of the angelic realm. That's why we can often meet them with angels in their presence, in the midst. So they are related. They are part of the angelic realm.
Okay.
Yeah. And as you go higher to the higher Elohim, you've got the ones that are pretty high up. It took us a long time as humans just to get to the point where we could actually interact with them, except for spiritual masters who've been doing it for quite a while. And there's higher ones, and they came down during the Becoming a Master seminar. During that time, some came down during the last 2 or 3 meditations. But there are higher ones, and they have even, I'm going to say, more esoteric, angelic or spiritual forms. They get into the very much higher beings that some of the spiritual teachings allude to. And I think we're going to learn more about them and discover some of this as time goes on, as they make themselves known. But anyway, my long answer to your short question is yes, they are part of the angelic realm.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm getting that they can embody human form.
They have, and they came in onto Earth, and there was a spectrum of them, just like there are many buildings. It's just with the jinn, which are where we get the genie word, the spiritual beings of the jinn. In Arabian Nights, was it 1001 Arabian Nights? Anyway, the book, but the Anunnaki, the good ones, are an aspect of the Elohim. I don't know, we've talked about that before, but they were back in Sumer and back in that time, the good ones, and they brought in a lot of esoteric knowledge that was used by the ancients, amongst others. I mean, there's been more than lots of different beings have come through over the eons to help us, but they are part of the Anunnaki, and probably they might even have a form in other places as well, but I just don't know about it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Love you all.
Yeah, love you all too. And Marci, it's such a joy to have you here. And now, Tonya, do you have anything left, anything to share, any other closing thoughts before we end the session here?
I just want to say thank you from what I caught. I'm going to have to go back and watch this definitely, but just from what I've caught from you guys, you are very welcoming. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the insights, and yeah, I'm definitely looking to get more involved in kind of groups like this, and sounds like, everybody like you, so thank you.
Well, thank you, and just thank you for everyone, and you, Tonya, for blessing us all with your presence, because it truly is a blessing when someone is, following their heart, their spiritual heart, and following their spiritual path, not only for themselves, but doing it in the world in service to others. What a wonderful calling. So thank you all for coming. Blessings, light, and love. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Blessings. Love you guys.
Bye.